The CEO's face peeled open in front of everyone. Not like skin tearing. Not like blood. It split the way plastic does when it melts. Evan Cole, junior analyst, stood frozen at the conference table, his mouth open, his heart beating so hard he thought he would pass out. Around him, the boardroom was silent. 20 people sat perfectly still, eyes locked on the head of the table. On Mr. Richard Hale, the CEO. The lights above flickered once. Richard Hale smiled. The smile was too wide. Under the smile, something moved. Something dark and smooth, like glass sliding under thin rubber. His eyes didn't blink. They didn't even look wet anymore. Someone screamed. Evan didn't know who. Then the lights went out. When they came back on, Richard Hale looked normal again. Clean suit, perfect hair, calm eyes, like nothing had happened. The room stayed quiet. No one spoke. No one moved. Richard Hale stood up slowly and adjusted his tie. "I apologize," he said kindly. "A power issue." His voice sounded the same. Warm, friendly, but Evan couldn't breathe. He had seen it. He knew what he saw. And he knew one more thing. The CEO was not human. Richard looked around the room. "Let's continue the meeting." People nodded. Someone laughed nervously. Chairs shifted. Evan sat down slowly, his hands shaking under the table. No one else was reacting. No one else was scared. That scared Evan more than anything. Just 2 hours earlier, everything had been normal. Evan had arrived at Hale Dynamics at 7:45 a.m., like always. Glass building, clean floors, quiet smiles, people who worked too much and slept too little. Richard Hale was known as the best CEO in the city. Calm, smart, kind, never angry, never tired, never sick. Evan had worked there for 3 years and never saw Richard eat. Never saw him drink coffee. Never saw him leave early or arrive late. People joked about it. He runs on money, they laughed. But that morning, Evan noticed something strange. The elevator mirror. As Richard Hale stepped in, Evan stood behind him. The elevator doors closed. Evan glanced at the mirror. Richard Hale didn't have a reflection. Evan blinked and looked again. Nothing. Just empty space where the CEO should have been. Evan told himself it was the lighting. He looked away. When he looked back, the reflection was there again. Perfect. Still smiling. Later, in the hallway, Evan passed Sarah, his co-worker. "Did you see that?" he whispered. "See what?" she asked. "The elevator. Mr. Hale's reflection." Sarah laughed softly. "You're tired. You worked all weekend." Maybe she was right. But then the email started. At 9:02 a.m., every employee received the same message. Subject, alignment. "Thank you for your loyalty. Today, we become more efficient." No sender name. At 9:10 a.m., security doors locked automatically. At 9:15 a.m., the board meeting began. That's when Evan saw the face split. Back in the present, the meeting went on like nothing happened. Charts, numbers, calm voices. Richard Hale walked slowly around the table as people spoke. He stopped behind Evan. Evan felt cold. A shadow fell over his notes. Richard leaned down close to his ear and whispered, so softly no one else could hear. "You saw through the shell." Evan's blood turned to ice. Richard straightened and smiled at the room again. "Break time," he said. 5 minutes. People stood up, chatting casually, leaving the room. Evan didn't move. Richard stayed. The door closed by itself. Richard turned around. This time, he didn't bother smiling. "You're not supposed to notice," he said. The lights dimmed, and Evan felt something moving behind Richard's eyes. Evan stood up slowly, his legs shaking. Richard Hale watched him like a patient teacher watching a child learn to walk. The room felt smaller now. The walls hummed softly, like something was running inside them. "You're scared," Richard said. His voice was calm. Too calm. "That's normal." Evan swallowed. "What are you?" Richard tilted his head. For a moment, the skin on his neck rippled, like something moved underneath it. Then it was still again. "I am leadership," Richard said. "I am growth. I am the future of this company." "That's not an answer," Evan whispered. Richard smiled, but his eyes stayed empty. "It's the only one that matters." The lights in the room dimmed further. The glass walls turned dark, like mirrors at night. Evan could see his own reflection now. Pale, sweaty, afraid. Behind him, the door clicked. Locked. Evan backed away until he felt the cold glass press against his shoulders. "Let me go." Richard stepped closer. He didn't walk. He glided, like his feet never touched the floor. You notice because you think, Richard said. Most of them don't. Evan shook his head. People noticed. They just didn't want to say anything. Richard's smile faded a little. They are aligned. At that word, the walls lit up. Screens appeared everywhere. On the walls, on the table, on the glass. They showed live video. Offices, hallways, break rooms. Evan saw his co-workers sitting at their desks, staring at their screens. Not typing, not talking, just staring. Sarah, Evan whispered. On one screen, Sarah sat alone in the break room. Her coffee spilled on the floor. She didn't move. Her eyes were wide open. What did you do to them? Evan shouted. Richard's voice dropped. I improved them. The screens changed. Evan saw the security room. The guards stood still, facing the wall. Their reflections in the glass moved a second too late. Then Evan saw something worse. The CEO's office. Inside it, the floor was open. A dark hole went down farther than Evan could see. Black cables moved inside it like slow snakes. Something large shifted deep below. Evan felt sick. This building. Yes, Richard said. It was built for us. For you? Evan asked. For those who guide, Richard said. We wear shapes people trust. CEOs, leaders, influencers. Evan's heart raced. How many of you are there? Richard didn't answer right away. Then he said, enough. A sound came from behind the glass wall. Tapping. Slow. Soft. In a rhythm. Evan turned. On the other side of the glass, employees stood in the hallway. Dozens of them, all staring into the room. They began to tap on the glass together. Tap. 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 Their mouths opened at the same time. A line, they said. Evan covered his ears. Stop. Richard stepped back. You have a choice. Evan looked at him. What choice? Join us, Richard said. Or be corrected. The floor beneath Evan's feet vibrated. The glass wall cracked. Evan felt panic explode inside him. He ran toward the table and grabbed a metal chair. He smashed it into the glass. It shattered. Alarms screamed. The tapping turned into pounding. Richard's face finally changed. The skin around his eyes pulled tight. His mouth opened too wide. That was inefficient, he said. The lights went out. Emergency red lights flashed on. In the red glow, Evan saw Richard's shape stretch. His suit tore. His arms bent the wrong way. Something tall unfolded from inside him. Evan ran. He burst out of the boardroom and into the hallway. Employees turned toward him in perfect unison. Their eyes were black. A line, they said. Evan sprinted toward the stairwell. He hit the door hard. It opened. Inside, the stairs didn't go down. They went up past where the building should end. And something was coming down toward him from above. Evan stared up the stairwell. The stairs kept going higher than the building should allow. Floor numbers on the wall skipped and repeated. 12, 14. 14 again. Then nothing. Above him, something moved. Slow footsteps echoed downward. Heavy. Careful. Like whatever was coming knew he had nowhere else to go. Evan turned and ran up. Each step felt harder than the last, like the air itself was pushing back. The walls buzzed softly, the same hum he heard in the boardroom. The building was alive, and it knew him. He reached a landing and burst through a door marked executive level. Inside was a wide-open office floor, empty except for rows of desks facing a single glass room in the center. The glass room glowed faint blue. Evan's chest burned. He hid behind a desk and tried to breathe quietly. From the stairwell, the footsteps stopped. Then Richard Hale's voice floated through the space. You can't leave, he said gently. You're already inside the system. Evan peeked out. Richard stood at the edge of the floor. He was taller now. His suit hung loose, like it didn't fit what was wearing it. His head tilted slightly, listening. I don't want power, Evan whispered. I just want to go home. Richard smiled sadly. That is why you were chosen. The screens above every desk flickered on. They showed Evan's life. His small apartment. His childhood bedroom. His parents' house. His phone with unread messages. We study what people fear losing, Richard said. Then we offer purpose instead. Evan backed away toward the glass room. You're not leaders. You're parasites. Richard's smile vanished. Words like that, he said, are inefficient. The employees stepped out from behind the desks. Hundreds of them. They walked slowly, calmly, blocking every path. Their faces were blank, but their eyes tracked Evan perfectly. A line, they whispered. Evan turned and smashed his shoulder through the glass room door. It shattered. Inside, the floor was open like a mouth. A deep shaft dropped into darkness, filled with thick cables and glowing lines. The hum was louder here, stronger. Evan leaned over the edge and saw movement far below. Something massive shifted. Not one thing. Many. Shapes stacked together. Woven. Breathing. This was the core. Richard stepped in behind him. This is where decisions are made. Evan laughed, shaky and wild. You hide behind humans. That means you're afraid. Richard paused. For the first time, he didn't answer. Evan reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. He opened the building's emergency alert app, the one no one ever used. Stop, Richard said softly. Evan hit send. Every screen in the building flashed white. The hum became a scream. The employees froze, clutching their heads. The cables below thrashed wildly. Lights exploded overhead. Richard staggered back. His form flickered, peeling and snapping between shapes. This building, this system, needs silence, Richard roared. You are noise. Evan ran past him toward a service door at the far end. Alarms wailed. Smoke filled the air. The door burst open into daylight. Evan collapsed onto the roof, coughing, shaking. Sirens wailed below. Fire trucks. Police. The building shook once, then went still. Later, they said the fire started from faulty wiring. They said the CEO was missing. They said the employees were in shock. No one talked about alignment. No one talked about the extra floors. Evan quit his job. He moved away. He never worked in an office again. But sometimes, late at night, his phone lights up. No number. No message. Just one word on the screen. Align. And somewhere, in another building, the lights turn on by themselves.